we will be having a very special guest be joining us. Callum Drift from Red One. Yes, Callum, what did you think of the movie? You're gonna go silent on me, huh? Cal, this is your movie. This is your time to shine and say something. Really? You're gonna do this to me? Unbelievable. Well, guys, I guess I'm going this one alone.
Bobby's breakdowns when knowledge grows, entertaining us all as the excitement flows. From films to wrestling, he's the pro.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy Bobby from Bobby's Breakdown, and as you can tell, we are back with the Christmas content. Yes, I thought I was going to have a friend join this review, obviously, as you saw, but that didn't happen. But that's okay. We are back, and we are going to be diving into the newest Christmas movie of the year, Red One, starring Dwayne Johnson, Chris Rock, Lucy Liu, J.K. Simmons. It was a wild, entertaining ride, just all over the map. But with that being said, let's dive right in. We start off at a kid's Christmas party, a family Christmas party, and we see the character Uncle Rick telling one of the kids that Santa is indeed real. And we'll come back to that already. And then we really get into the movie. We see Chris Evans playing the character Jack O'Malley, and he starts a fire in like a park, so people go running and get distracted just so he could swipe one of the woman's swipe ID cards. He's thrifty like that, folks. I gotta be honest with you. Then we go to the mall. We see people fighting over consoles, people yelling at each other. It's just like America in real life. We see J.K. Simmons, who is playing Santa, and of course we see Dwayne Johnson, who is playing Callum Drift, who is the security guard for Santa, and he's watching everything like a hawk. Sniffing the cookies, watching people, making sure Santa doesn't get sick or get hurt. And then we find out Callum is leaving the North Pole. Callum leaving the North Pole is kind of like the main part to this story, but, we'll talk about that more. We see the reindeer, and they love Callum. And of course, even Santa's like, oh, your boyfriend's here. It's by J.K. Simmons. That wasn't really that good. We see Santa getting an escort through the air, and he just says, oh, see you next year. Foreshadowing. Santa gets to the North Pole, and we see Mrs. Claus, who is played by Bonnie Hunt. It's another cameo. She doesn't have many scenes in the movie, but it's good to see her. Callum tells Santa he's done. It has nothing to do with the kids. It has nothing to do with him. He just can't stand the adults, and there are more people on the naughty list than there are on the nice list. Like I said, Cal's riding helicopters, jumping out of helicopters, jumping off of buildings. It's kind of wild to see. We eventually meet Lucy Liu's character, who's Zoe, who's like a higher up for the mythological creatures. And it's 24 hours till Christmas, and Santa is gone. So we have a problem. They orchestrate a plan to get him back, but they need the best hacker and bad guy pretty much in town. And that's when they get Jack O'Malley. But we see Jack O'Malley, who is drunk in a tub, and he goes to pick up his kid. Pretty much drunk too, it's weird. But his wife in the movie is Mary Elizabeth Ellis, aka the waitress from Always Sunny. And it's so weird to see her actually have a name in a show or a movie, because I'm just so used to her being called the waitress in Always Sunny. So after Jack drops off his kid, he comes into his house and he fights off some SWAT team, and he doesn't know what's going on really. And then Zoe gets him when he least expects it, and he wakes up and he's at the North Pole. And they want answers from him. They're like, who took Santa? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know the people who took him. Jack has a hard time believing Santa until he sees the Headless Horseman be brought in for question. He's like, was that the Headless Horseman? They think Jack is involved in the Santa Claus kidnapping. And Jack, again, can't seem to comprehend. And then And probably one of my funniest scenes of the movie, Jack looks at Cal and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm the head of ELF." And Jack just goes, "Elf?" And Cal has to be restrained from going after him. And then we meet Garcia, the bear security guard who's about to beat up Jack. We see Santa is kidnapped by Grilla, the evil Christmas witch and the main villain of the group. It's comical, the villains, but we'll get into that more. We have a funny back and forth between Cal and Jack. We see the scene from the trailer where he makes the car become a real car, the toy car. And then you would think Cal was going to hit him with the other line, but he doesn't. And then they're driving, and Cal's like, "He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. You would take years to read the list, but he reads it and only reads it twice because he knows it." Comical Christmas stuff. And then, for some reason, they think Santa is in the Bahamas, so they go to the Bahamas, but they go to the Bahamas to get more info. And then we see a group called the Death Mercs, and their leader is none other than Rodney Ruxin, aka Nick Kroll, who plays a character called Ted. If you've seen The League, you know what I'm talking about with Rodney Ruxin, one of the best characters, hands down. Cal absolutely destroys the Death Mercs and talks to Ted. We find out Ted is working for Grilla, but you can't say her name because she'll know and she'll appear. So Cal just goes, "Okay, write her name in the sand." So he does. Cal acknowledges it. And Jack just goes, "Grilla? Gryla?" They're like, "No!" And then she takes over the body of Ted, the evil Christmas witch. Then randomly, out of the ocean, an ice cream truck playing Feliz Navidad comes out of the ocean. And here come the evil snowmen throwing deadly snowflakes. This movie was out of this world at some points. Cal, Jack, and Ted fight off the evil snowmen. Well, fortunately, Ted didn't make it. He gets frozen right by the pool, unfortunately. But Jack and Cal escape because you find out from Cal, if you rip their carrot nose off, they disintegrate. Jack almost becomes a victim of the snowmen, but Cal saves the day. Then we get the payoff from the earlier scene there, back at the store, and so stupid, it's so funny. And this comes back later. Jack asks the toy shop worker, he goes, "Do you have a Wonder Woman action figure, that he can turn into life?" And you just hear Cal goes, "It doesn't work like that." Then they're driving. Cal and Jack. We find out that Santa's brother used to put kids on the naughty list and really punish them. Santa never forgave him for it, and that's why they don't talk anymore. And Santa's brother is none other than Krampus. And then, what might be the most ridiculous and funniest part of the movie, we see Krampus playing Power Slap. Yes, the Dana White game that aired last year. Jack challenges Krampus for Cal to a game of Power Slap. Cal slaps Krampus. Krampus doesn't even get phased. Krampus slaps and obliterates Cal. Cal gets sent back. He's like, "Oh, my face. And then they're like, "Okay, round 2. Cal goes to slap him right before he comes across. Jack puts the arm sleeve on that Cal has powers in, and it powers up and it slaps Krampus really hard, and Krampus actually goes flying. And in that meantime, they put some Rock'em Sock'em toys on the floor. They put them to life, and it distracts everybody. They're fighting the bad guys and Krampus, and that leads to their escape. We see Jack's son Dylan. He's at his Christmas play or whatever, and he FaceTimes Jack, and he goes, "Why did you get me this stupid snow globe?" And they were like, No. If you pick up the snow globe, you go into the snow globe, and you pretty much become hostage. So Jack is like, "Gotta do it, man." He picks up his snow globe, and he's like, "I gotta get him back. And Cal's like, I get it. So Jack and Dylan are both stuck. Meanwhile, Cal FaceTimes Mrs. Claus. And he's like, hey, how you holding up? She's like, oh, I'm doing good. I'm making him cookies for when he arrives. And he's like, oh, what kind? And she's like, oh, macaroons. Santa hates macaroons. And Cal knows that. And he realizes the bad guys are also shapeshifters, which is crazy. Dylan and Jack have a moment. They both make up. And then Cal and Zoe find Dylan and Jack. But Cal thinks Jack might be a shapeshifter. And he's like, if you could have one Christmas toy and turn it into real life, who would it be? And he's like, Wonder Woman. And Cal's just like, all right, it's him. So stupid, but so funny. Then they get Santa back, but only for the time being, because an all-out war breaks out at the North Pole. Grila's enforcers and Cal's squad, I'll just call them. Eventually, they think they end Grilla. But then Grilla comes back and turns into this massive ogre. Now, I'll give you a little side story. I leaned over to my cousin's wife, Larissa, and I said, if Krampus comes back and saves the day, I'm giving this movie a 13 out of 10 because I thought Krampus was hilarious. Who comes in to save the day? Krampus. Until Grilla launches him into like another dimension and Krampus is out of it for the time being. Eventually, they get the upper hand on Grilla. Santa, who was knocked out earlier, he sends the reindeer to take her out, and they force her into the snow globe. Grilla is out of it. She's done. Krampus eventually comes to him, and Santa have a nice-ish moment. Santa's like, why don't you stick around for a little? And you see Cal, and he's just like... and Krampus is like, don't push it. Santa's like, okay. Krampus leaves. Then we go back to the North Pole. Santa's gearing up for that ride. Santa thanks Jack and Dylan for all their help, and he says, why don't you come with me? And Jack and Dylan are like, what? Really? And they're like, okay. We see Santa going through the motions of getting Christmas together. And we see the motions of him delivering presents. It's quite interesting. He gets down to a normal size, delivers, makes them lifelike. It's pretty cool. We see him going all across the world. Then we see a young Jack, who was the kid from earlier in the movie, talking to a young Dylan, and Cal sees it. He smiles, and Santa goes, you see it too, right? And Cal's like, yeah, I do. They saved Christmas. End of movie. Folks, was this one of the greatest movies of all time? No. Was it one of the best movies of all time? No. But if you like being entertained, laughing, and just all around a fun time for 2 hours, this is your kind of movie. Go see it. Definitely a family movie you can bring the kids to. I was cracking up most of the time, personally. It's so stupid at some points, but so funny. And you know what? As long as you have a good time, that's all that matters. I am a man of my word, though. Red 1, 13 out of 10. Man of my word, what can I say? I thought the movie was enjoyable. This movie is like 2 years in the making, so I'm glad I finally got to see it. I would think the way Dwayne operates, it would be on streaming by the time Christmas comes around, considering it came out mid-November. So I think you'll be able to see it on Prime or whatever by the time December 1st, as even it might roll around. What did you guys think of Red 1? Sound off below. Folks, you know how I do in December. We're back on Christmas content. Next up, I believe, will be Elf. I could switch around the order, but I think I'm going to do Elf next. Yeah. But we're back in December. Merry Christmas to all, even though this is coming out on Black Friday. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. Like I said, we got 4 more Christmas videos coming, folks, so that we're at the end of 2024. Crazy to think about. But until next time, I am Bobby from Bobby's Breakdowns, and we will see you in the next one. Later.
Bobby's Breakdowns.